Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers Pregame presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening, and we have a big one today, fam. It is Flyers Ducks. It is Cutter Gauthier's first time playing in the Wells Fargo Center. It is his homecoming game. Of course, Cutter Gauthier drafted 5th overall in 2022 by the Flyers, refused to sign. It was just over a year ago that they traded him to Anaheim for Jamie Drysdale and a second-round pick, and we have a lot of time to litigate that trade and all the circumstances of it. But today, it's about giving Cutter a piece of our mind. But before we do that, we have to see what the Flyers are going to be putting on the ice for this one, because have a little bit of news from the lineup. As Charlie reported yesterday, it's going to be Ulla Lixell coming into the lineup. He was rotating on the fourth line with Joel Faraby yesterday. We weren't sure who was going to come out, but it looked like that would be the case. That's who it is. Joel Faraby is the healthy scratch today, and we're getting some quotes from John Tortorella that are, listen, for a lot of the season, he wasn't scoring. I liked his game, though. He was creating chances, just wasn't finishing, but there's been a drop. This isn't punitive. It's just kind of a reset for Joel Faraby, so we're going to get Ulla Lixell into a game, and I'm very excited to see what Lixell can do down in Lehigh Valley in the AHL. He was the Phantoms' leading scorer until like yesterday or something. He's second behind Samu Tuomala, but he has 24 points in 25 games. Tuomala's got 25 and 32, so Lixell still leads the Phantoms in points a game. But he's been good for them. He's been one of their best players down in Lehigh Valley, and I hadn't realized that Lixell. I guess I just forgot. You get into whatever part of the season, and I didn't realize he played 18 games up in the NHL last year. Lixell did a goal and 4 assists last season. This is actually going to be his 28th NHL game. He got into one earlier this season, played just shy of 11 minutes, had 3 shots on goal, no points. So he's got a little bit of NHL experience. We're going to get a look at him today against the Ducks, and why the hell not? This is what I was advocating for on recent shows and on Twitter. There's a lot of players on this roster. I know that they're still in evaluation mode, and they have a lot of young guys, a lot of guys under 25 years old, all that stuff. You need the time to evaluate young players. But there's a lot of dudes on this roster who have been here, who have played games in at least parts of all 3 seasons under John Tortorella. I guess 2.5. This season's not over yet, but there's a lot of guys on this team who've played a ton of games for John Tortorella. I don't know how much more time we need to evaluate the Joel Farabys and Morgan Frosts of the world. Like, what are we going to find out about these guys that we haven't already? They've been here the entire time. This is a good use of the extra guy. This is a good use of resources. It's a good use of everyone's time, quite honestly. I don't need to see any more Joel Faraby. Why would I need any more time? Oh, yeah, well, maybe maybe with a good center. You can say that about every winger in the league. We know what Joel Faraby is now. We have his last 76 games, I believe it is, scored 11 goals. That's terrible. That's a full season sample size. I realize it's part of last season into this season. I don't care. It is basically a full season's worth of a sample in which he has been terrible. You could say, oh, at one point he was creating chances. Well, yeah, like he's going to do some things well now and then. It's not like he's a horrible player, but if you go 76 games and have 11 goals, you're not a top 6 forward. You're not a guy I can count on moving forward as a top 6 forward. And I don't care what your past resume says. That's behind us. That's, pre-neck surgery, pre this rebuild. That's ancient history at this point. Over the last 3 years, he has declined. It has been, he's regressed. There's no other way to put it. He's been bad. So he comes out of the lineup tonight, and I think it's for good reason. Is it punitive? The coach says, no, it's not this, I'm trying to show him. he just hasn't been good enough. And he's a fourth liner right now. Him, Coots, and Hathaway have made up the fourth line for a couple of weeks, I think, at this point. This is what happens to fourth liners when they're really not contributing. Sometimes another guy plays. So we're going to get a look at ALLCITY tonight, and I hope it starts a trend, not just with Joel Faraby, but with cycling other guys in and out of this lineup when we have enough information to decide, oh, yeah, you know what? I think we're all good. It might take till the offseason because of the term left on his contract, and maybe you don't want to sell off every part you have at the trade deadline. Okay. But it's time to start making some really hard decisions for this front office. Guys that you thought maybe were going to be a part of the future, guys that you thought maybe were going to get something going and become more than they are. It hasn't happened. It hasn't happened with a number of players who've been here a while. This should be the beginning of a process of we're going to make some subtractions. We're going to make some changes. We're going to look at some other guys, and we're going to get hopefully a start with that tonight with ALLCITY coming in for Joel Faraby. We also saw something pretty interesting at practice yesterday. If you saw, I think Charlie tweeted out, maybe it was Jordan Hall, I can't remember, but a 3 goalie drill at practice on Friday. And I thought that went along with my idea of, you know what? None of these goalies have distinguished themselves. Yes, Sam Arison is the presumed number one starter. He hasn't been good this season. And I know, we went through the portions of his season. It was really 6 games coming back from his second injury that really tanked his numbers. But Sam Arison has looked far from an NHL number one goaltender. I think he's an NHL goalie. I think he could be a good tandem guy or maybe just a straight backup. I think with a limited workload, Sam Arison is good, whether it's he gets worn down or he gets injured as he has this season. You just see a real drop in play the more you play Sam Arison. So let's just split up the ice time. But no, that doesn't appear what they're doing. I want to go one goalie plays every 3 games. Everyone gets a third of the starts for the rest of the way, or at least until the trade deadline when, okay, if we're still in it, we'll go with the traditional number 1 and number 2 roles because we think we have a chance, so we're going to give the boys a chance. Okay, I'll understand that, especially if one goalie really kind of grabs a hold of this thing. But no one has distinguished themselves, so let's just split it up. Let's go 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2-3 with Arison, Fedotov, and Kolosov until there's a reason not to. That is not the tact, however, that they're taking, despite that 3 goalie drill that they tried at practice with the 3 nets. It's going to be Sam Arison again, and I just really, really disagree with this deployment of the goaltenders. We've seen Arison last year get really, really worn down and to the point where he was horrendous after he had started all those games, soft goals, early goals, over and over again, just not giving them a chance. So this year they wanted to come in and give him a shot, with a normal schedule. And he hasn't been able to do that. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. And I want to see what Sam Arison actually is. And I'm pretty sure he's not a number 1 at this point because he can't stay healthy. And last year when he got that workload, he fell apart. So let's just see if he can be a part-time goalie. No, they're going to throw him out there again. Listen, he was pretty good against Dallas. Stopped 19 of 22. The numbers look bad, an .864 save percentage. But we talked about it. The 3 goals that he allowed, we talked about this on postgame. I think we talked about it on yesterday's show. I'm not blaming him for any of the goals. This isn't like an anti-Sam Arison thing. It's just, what is the point of continually running him out there if you're going to get less return on investment? We want to see if he can be a number 1. I think that ship has sailed. Sam Arison is what? He turned 25 at the end of October. I'm not saying a finished product. He's Swedish, of course. He can't be a finished product. Now, I'm not saying he's a finished product, but I can't imagine we're going to see a 3 level up performance of Sam Arison over the next year and a half. I think where he's had success, being that tandem goalie or being the backup as he was last year, that's kind of what his ceiling is. And that's fine. You need those guys too. He was really, really good at that last year. Let's leave him in that role. But that doesn't appear to be the case. It looks like as long as Sam Arison is healthy enough, he is going to get a bulk of the starts. And okay, he's the guy who's been around longest. He's the guy who maybe has right now the best credentials. Sure. I just think it's a disservice to him and the other goalies. Like, let's just give them all a shot. Let's make it an open competition. But that's not the case tonight. So we have Sam Arison going. He'll be starting. And this year, the numbers are dreadful. Goals against just over 3, 883 save percentage. Does have the one shutout. He's 9-7-2. So he's over hockey 500. And even by just straight wins and losses, he's 500. He's been up and down, I guess. He has had some good starts. He has given, out of all the goalies, the Flyers the best chance to win, but we're not really saying much there, are we? So that is your lineup tonight for Flyers Ducks. Again, a big one here. It's going to be a ton of fun down at the Wells Fargo Center, and I bet you can still get in right now, but you got to do it with the Game Time app. All right, that's right. You got to use Game Time because Game Time is the #1 secondary ticket marketplace. It is outstanding, and they've made it even better with a new feature, Game Time Picks. That's right. Game Time Picks makes it easier to find the best tickets for all the events you're looking for. It filters out the fluff, shows you only the best deals on the great seats, and you still have all the features that made Game Time the #1 secondary ticket marketplace, from the all-in pricing, the seat views, the low price guarantee, and the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. And it's game time for all of us, all of the Philadelphia fans, all of the Flyers fans who are heading down to the Wells Fargo Center today. Fam, days like this are special. They can define an era. There's something to remember, especially in the lean times, and we are, as Flyers fans, certainly in the lean times. My fandom, personally, I'm 36 years old. I was born in 88, so I missed, all of it, basically. All the good stuff in Philly I missed. My generation of fandom growing up is a few almost seasons, the 93 Phils, which I don't even remember. I was 5. The 97 and 2010 Flyers, the 01 Sixers, Andy's Eagles, and then a lot of days like today. And while some may kind of criticize, a spurned fan base's continual emotional investment in something like a player who told you I don't want you, who just left us. I say this is what makes sports great. You get to be as ridiculous and emotionally unstable as possible in what is ultimately a meaningless way. And these are moments that draw fans together. And I think that's especially important at a time where there are so many opinions on what's going on with the Flyers, what they're doing, where they're going, what's the rebuild, the coach, the GM, the whole organization. There's varying opinions, and the fan base isn't exactly united right now. Let's put it that way. But it doesn't matter what you think of Danny and the Flyers organization right now, because if you're a Flyers fan, that means orange and black over everything. And today is a day we can come together to hate a kid who wasn't even alive for a bunch of the stories I want to tell next. And yeah, that's I recognize an insane thing to say in any other context, but this is Philly sports. And the reason we get so fired up is because we love this stuff, man. So let's remember that for one day, because I want to tell some stories that I think will mean a lot to a lot of people. And they're about days that were, from an outside perspective, kind of meaningless. But they're defining moments for me and who I am as a fan in this city. It's really what built me to love it to the point where I was like, yeah, I'm going I'm going to be a professional fan, basically. I'm going to yell all my opinions and do it into a microphone and get paid for it. Like, these are the moments that I did this for. Because that old, no, the best revenge is living well. Not for me, dude. Nah, not for me. I need to throw all my feelings in someone's face to let them know exactly how bad they effed up. Because if you have what it takes to make it here in Philadelphia, if you have what it takes to be the guy in the number one sports town in the world, you'll live forever. Look right now at Jason Kelce. Where else could that happen? I'm not talking about, a generational quarterback. I'm not talking about, a two-way pitcher catcher or pitcher batter like Shohei Ohtani. I'm talking about, yes, maybe one of the greatest centers of all time, but a freaking center. We made him into a star, a national sports star. That doesn't happen anywhere but Philadelphia. I want to let everyone know how much it means to us, both the good and the bad, because everyone out there, like the future potential Cutter Gauthiers of the world, you should know, like, there's going to be bad. There's going to be days you don't love your job if you're playing here. But the good days, you'll know what it feels like to reach the pinnacle. Like, the kind of sports love they make movies and documentaries out of, you'll know it. The thing you always dreamed of, being the king of a place, you'll have it here if you give us everything you have. And you don't even have to be a champion like a Jason Kelce or a Chase Utley. Yeah, that really helps. Don't get me wrong. But look at freaking like Vince Papale, man. Aaron Rowand smashed his face. He'll never buy a drink in this town. Jim Thome, who just chose us. He just chose us. That's all he did. And he was awesome. But he chose us, and so we'll always love him. Mike Richards gave us everything. Allen freaking Iverson. Think about, in this blue-collar, sometimes a little jerky town, the dude who said, I don't really want to practice. When we're all about hard work, this guy worked so hard on the court during games that we were like, does he need to practice? Does he need to? We're talking about practice. Wayne Simmons. Was he a superstar? No, but he gave us everything. And so you'll see as many Wayne Simmons jerseys in the crowd at the Wells Fargo Center tonight as you will any player on the current team. I'll tell you that. Brian freaking Dawkins, man. Ike Reese. Ike Reese gave us everything for a couple of years and made a second career here. He's been on the air longer than he ever played football. And he's awesome, and we love him. Because he's a Philly guy. Charles Barkley. Forget it, man. Tommy Dreamer, the Sandman, the Blue Meanie. They'll always have us here. And I want people who choose to dismiss what that means to know it's going to be the other way for them. Because this is that important here. And if you don't want what we have, if you don't want that sort of level of importance being put on you, that sort of spotlight, it's best to find out now rather than, right before you're making the decision to give that player a franchise-defining contract. So, yeah, it's great we found out about Cutter Gauthier sooner than later. And just like the Flyers said, if you don't want to be here, we don't want you. That's 100% true. But I still want you to know what you're missing, because this passion, strong and negative and toxic and unhealthy as it might be, is just a fraction of what you could have had if you'd made it here. And you should know that. And you should be made to realize that every time you come here forever. The stories I want to tell, I was just thinking about different, like these games where a either villain or a hero returned to Philadelphia and the reception they got equaled what they gave us. We were on full display in these, and yeah, some of them are real bad. Like, don't get me wrong. I want every time Cutter Gauthier touches the puck tonight to get booed real loudly. I want demeaning chants chanted at him. I want him to feel all of our sports hatred. Hatred's tough because, you hate a guy because he plays hockey. Yes, in this context, I do. We're talking about hockey. I hate him, the hockey player, because we're talking about hockey. Do I hate him like I hate evil people? No, because I'm not a lunatic. 100%. But like, so I'm not saying today's game should be like August 11th, 1999, when JD Drew came back and some people at the vet threw batteries at him. Now, it wasn't 60,000 people, the way you tell it, it's like, oh, and we were raining down, but it was a few people threw some batteries, but nobody should do that. That's horrible. Don't do that. But the reception Scott Rowland got August 15th to the 17th, 2003, and really every time he stepped back into Philadelphia, yeah, that's what I expect tonight. I was just thinking about it because I remember Rowland coming back and it being Sunday Night Baseball, and it was Amari Telemaco, and it was a weekend series. That makes sense. Why would the first game of the series be on a Sunday? It was 22 years ago. I don't have the best memory of it, but I do remember quite a bit of it. And I remember that Sunday Night Baseball game. It was Telemaco. Vicente Padilla started the first one on August 15th against Scott Rowland. They won that game. They won both of those games, actually. Rowland 0 for 4 on Friday and Sunday. But that hatred, that just anger that we threw at Rowland that day, the booing. I remember on Sunday Night Baseball, he's getting booed, fly ball to right, and Bobby Abreu slides to make a nice catch. And the announcers comment like, oh, yeah, the applause for the great catch was quickly destroyed, like quickly ended in favor of more boos for Scott Rowland. Like, that's what I want to see tonight. I want to make this an uncomfortable situation for Cutter Gauthier. There was a lot of these games I was there for, and these are really the games that shaped me more than anything. Eric Lindros, I was at that one. His first game back in Philly, January 12th, 2002, with the Rangers. I was a big, and it's funny, this is, it's almost lines up perfectly for a lot of weird stuff. The anniversary of the Cutter and Drysdale trade was January 8th. The anniversary of Lindros' first game back as a Ranger is January 12th. That day also overlapped with a Eagles playoff game, and today's January 11th. There's an Eagles playoff game tomorrow, so we're like real close to just an odd coincidence here. But I was a big Lindros fan as a kid. Like, I hated when they traded him, and I went to that first game back, and I'm wearing a Lindros jersey there with some of my friends, and there's like grown men yelling at me, telling me, you better let us like draw on that jersey. We're gonna cross out his name. We're gonna write a bunch of stuff. Like, I'm in middle school, dog. What are you going on about? Yeah, I was 13 years old, so I was in 7th grade. It was also the day of the final Berserk Postal Clerk show, and I only shout that out because there's like 6 people listening who are going to get that reference. Good day. Eagles beat the Bucks 31-9. Final BPC show at the Mantua VFW. And Eric Lindros' first game back, and he got destroyed. He gets called for diving in that game. Mark Recchi hooked him down, and the ref's arm goes up, and Recchi just turns at the ref livid, and the ref points at him and calls Lindros for diving. I've heard the Wells Fargo Center louder for playoff games, but that's it. Like, the biggest moment, sure, but that's really it. That's what I want. And, of course, the T.O. game, man. T.O.'s first game back, October 8th, 2006. That's probably the best sporting event I was ever at. I mean, the Lido interception, all that stuff. It was incredible. But the boos for him, some of the chants were in poor taste. Knowing what we know now about mental health, maybe some of that stuff should have been off the table, but it was a different time. I was just a high school kid. I had a single ticket in the very last row of the end zone. Lido returned the pick 6-2. I was all the way up in the very last row, and after the Lido shuffle played, after the fight song played, it was overcome with joy. It was so much freaking fun, man. And that's sort of the I had whatever the opposite of a panic attack is. I think I almost passed out from like too much joy that day. It was so much fun. But it's not just like villains, like, yes, and that's how we treat bad guys, but go back to 2009 when Dawkins came back as a Bronco. Go back to 2015 when Kimmo Timonen came back as a Blackhawk. The hero's reception, the coordinated at 4:44 on the clock, a standing ovation for Kimmo Timonen. And like the king of it was Chase Utley. August 16th, 2016, strikes out in his first at-bat, then hits a home run, then hits a grand slam. and he gets standing O's for hitting home runs against the Philadelphia Phillies in the Phillies stadium. That's what I'm talking about. You're a hero forever if you make it here. Cutter Gauthier didn't want that. So let's show him the other end of it tonight. All right, let's get to the bet segment. This pregame pick segment is brought to you by Bet365. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. We have 2 bets on the board to make tonight. Yeah, I'm going to go with that Matvei Michkov anytime goal. This is a big game. He steps up under a spotlight a lot. He's going head-to-head with Cutter Gauthier. He's only got, I think, 1 goal in his last 14 or 15 games. He's been cold. A couple of games ago, he played maybe one of his best of the season, even though he didn't score. Last game, he was just kind of invisible, wasn't very good at all. I think he bounces back, and he bounces back in a big way. It's going to be emotional down at the stadium. He's going to thrive off that. Give me that Matvei Michkov anytime goal at plus 210. And because this is Philadelphia and bad things happen in Philly, sometimes the bad guys win. Sometimes we get it thrown back in our faces. So I am absolutely going to bet a Cutter Gauthier anytime goal at plus 325 today, because what the hell else would happen to us? Like, why wouldn't Cutter Gauthier score today? Really, it would be crazy to think he won't, quite honestly. That's how I'm feeling about it. So those are the bets for today. We're taking that Cutter Gauthier anytime goal because obviously, and Matvei Michkov, I think it's time. More than anything, I think Matvei Michkov is due. I think he's due for a big game. I mentioned that Gauthier-Drysdale trade. We just passed the 1-year anniversary. It was January 8th, 2004, when the Flyers got Jamie Drysdale and a 2025 second-round pick for Cutter. We have a lot of time to relitigate that. Now, right now, Cutter Gauthier hasn't had the best rookie season. He's had a few good games, but he's been benched a few times, had his ice time cut. He's having trouble adjusting. And as much as Michkov got off to a really hot start, it's an adjustment period for him as well. So I'm hoping Jamie Drysdale becomes something. I hope that second round pick that they got becomes something, but we will see how it plays out tonight. I am really, really looking forward to this, and I am looking forward to hanging out with everybody who bought a ticket. That's right, who bought a sweet ticket for our PHLY Sweet Takeover today. It's going to be a great time. Thanks for watching this show while you're probably like in the suite with me right now. That's going to be odd for some of you. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We are going to boo the hell out of Cutter Gauthier, as will about 19,500 other insane people. But that is all I have for you on the PHLY Flyers pregame presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Make sure you're following us right here on the YouTube page. Never miss a live show. Hit that reminder bell so you get notifications. It'll be Steve and Tyler, not Steven Tyler. It'll be Steve and Tyler hosting your post game tonight. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers. And follow the podcast as well. Wherever you get those, just search PHLY Flyers. That's it. My name is Bill Matz. Until next time, let's go Flyers.
We all silly like the mayor.